My name is Valene Bear Chief. My Siksika name is Natoya Sipistaki, which translates to Holy Owl Woman. And I am in year 4, just completed term 7, and will begin term 8 on January 12th. So I enrolled in the Iiyikinaami program through the Old Sun Community College. When my baby was 8 months old, I started my journey. And I chose this path because I wanted to challenge myself. The program has been really amazing. The program has really developed my skills in not only assessments, so identifying certain heart and lung sounds, but also in understanding a person's life, how they grew up. So understanding, okay, this person has diabetes. Well, why can't they just go for a walk in their community and eat healthier and they'll be fine? It's not possible. So you see this person grew up in poverty. This person lives in a community where there's dogs everywhere and they can't walk safely. So understanding a person more beyond just their set of symptoms, I feel it's really developed my critical thinking skills with regards to how people are perceived, and that understanding where they come from, you can help them better to guide them to where they need to be. So the elder component of the program I feel was most important because not everybody in our cohort had that experience of growing up with their grandparents, as many of us had. And so we learned innately how to just be a caregiver. My whole logic and my guide to practice was raised by grandparents equals caregiver for all. And I carry that every day, even though my grandparents have been gone for 18 and 13 years. I just really try to continue that on. So from being a little girl, 6 years old, helping my grandma to wash dishes, to being 20 years old and driving my grandma to her appointments, to being 20, whatever I was when she passed away, and being there by her bedside. So having these elders, I think, was for me a really nice, it was a comfort because I've been without my own grandparents. And so in our community, we call all of the elders our grandparents. And one of our biggest supporters in this program passed away in April of this year. Her name was Eve, Yellow Old Woman. And her son, Herman, was very influential in some of his cultural teachings with our cohort. So just, it's a deep root that I'm really thankful to have a piece of in my life. I think that is where the Indigenous people who were raised by grandparents, our compassion is deep, deep. It's like in our DNA. Just having that, you just love them. You just love elders. You want to help them. You have such respect for them. And that program allowed us to nurture that by bringing in Deanna and Bruce, by bringing in Gerald and Laura, and having them share their stories with us. Like for us, it's normal. When I say us, I'm looking at my sister over here who's in this program with me. And we responded really well to that. And I think that just helped us in ways that a program off the reserve would never help. I'll get very real with you. I have no pride left. Essentially, I have been through every struggle imaginable, financially, mentally, emotionally. It has been extremely humbling to be able to persevere through trying to figure out if I'm going to make my vehicle payment this week, but at the same time, hey, you have this paper due and it's a group project, and if you don't do your part, so it's stripped me of that, but I would never, ever go back and do anything differently because I think all nurses need to have that humble spirit. When we come into a room where somebody is dying, and I've done palliative care, they don't want somebody high and mighty coming in. They want somebody who's willing to sit by them and hold their hands. And a person who has been through struggles can do that so much more easily. So I am thankful for my struggle. And I think it's really helped me to, funny to say it now, but not sweat the small stuff. Because really the bigger picture of life is we're all just walking each other home. And some of us get to help more than others. And soon, when our time comes, you just want to have that same energy brought back to you. And so just being really aware that pride had no place in this at all. I am proud of myself for achieving what I have, but it's not ever in a way of condescending upon anybody else. It's been a journey that I am grateful for. The most important clinical term that I personally experienced was at Peter Lougheed, which it was just a year ago. We finished up there, and the proximity to the unhoused population that accessed the hospital was evident in the people that we got to be nurses for, even if it was just morning care. So we have had lost 2 uncles who lived with addictions. One of them froze to death 9 years ago, and the other one died of an overdose in his apartment and wasn't found for some days later. So having that connection with people who are in that same situation for me was really important, because everybody just deserves to feel important and like they matter, and to have a connection to something. So even if it's, hey, did you watch the hockey game? And, they actually did in their room because they watched their neighbor's TV. And, just finding a way to connect, giving people a sense of belonging, because my cousin Quintina, who has her PhD, she's a psychologist. She had this whole thing where the opposite of addiction is connection. And so even if you have nothing in common with them on the surface, everybody's got something that they can talk about together and bond over. And so for me, that was my most important clinical experience. I know it's not relevant to, oh, I got to see this assessment, I did this type of wound care, I stuck a vein for the first time on this day. Like, yes, that is important. It is. But there's so much human connection that is important in this program as an Indigenous woman. And then the last thing I want to mention is, in this last term, I found an elder from a different reserve and went in to check on her, and we bonded because I didn't have anything going and was waiting for a break, and she was right there. So we ended up buying her tea and connecting her with the Indigenous liaison of the hospital, and just having that connection. Realistically, it's all it is about, is for an elder to see us Indigenous students in a hospital where we know how to treat them, how to approach them, how to talk to them. I think that means the world to a lot of them, because we have met an elder in, I think it was Rocky View. She said the way the nurses came into the room with their arms crossed, telling them, you need to sit up, I got to take your blood pressure, you need to sit up, I'm going to give you your pills. She said it reminded her of residential school nuns. And so we tried to give that teaching to the charge nurse. Yes, we're different. We have different last names. We have different upbringing. And no, you can't room her with a male. There's so much teaching I wanted to do, but it's pointless if they're not willing to listen. So I think just having us there amongst them, and then we can just, it'd be really small, but I'm becoming the change that I wanted to see for my grandparents, for our mom. And so just having us present and having us there to talk for them, or even just to hold their hands, I think that's been the best parts of my clinical experience, was just finding those connections and making them and nurturing them and teaching non-Indigenous nurses how to be. with our elders. If I can do it with 4 kids, most times by myself, meaning my husband deals with intergenerational trauma to an extensive level where he cannot parent with me, so I've done it alone. Not quite alone. I have my parents, my siblings, and some really amazing friends who, if they're not giving me a gift card, they're phoning me just to say, "You got this. You're almost there." If I can do it, trying to learn pawn shop so I can make a vehicle payment because I could not get an undergrad job. If I can do it, and I'm 42, anybody could do it. And I've heard nurses of different backgrounds telling all of us, we need Indigenous nurses. You guys have such compassion and care and patience, and we need that. For those of us who were raised by grandparents, and for those of us who've worked in the communities with our elders, they need us. We need to show them that kindness. The kindness that was not initially given to us as the Nitsudapi here in this building itself. We turn that around and just give back kindness.